I had a near psychedelic experience because I started to see the geometrical patterns in which nature organizes itself through the grass and the rocks, and all of
Oh,
the patterns of reality shaped itself to me visually without any substances, mind you, without
yeah.
anything altering me, just truly breath. I don't think I even ate that day yet. And being present. And that's how nature is. When you are receptive, it will open itself up to you and share secrets of wisdom and beauty that you can only see when you, again, are receptive and open and honoring that primordial wisdom, that divine goddess wisdom that's in Mother Earth, Mama Gaia.
What's up, people? Welcome, Eric Taylor, Biggie Astrology, Knowledge is Love Astrology Podcast, episode 203. Wow, things are moving along, and I am back joined with my amazing guest, her second time joining us, Sofia from Sofia Astrology. How are you, my friend?
I am super healthy and blessed. I'm in my moon time, which I think is really fitting considering I'm a Taurus moon coming up to the new moon. So I think for me, there's definitely like a new beginning coming. That's extremely personal.
I love it. And we're going to really chop it up today. We're talking about the Taurus super new moon on May 7th, 18 degrees at 8:22 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, it will be May 8th if you're over the oceans and in England and stuff. But us Americans, and in the West Coast, it'll be 5:22 p.m. Pacific. But the Taurus super new moon, wow, really some interesting energy. And then we're going to share with Miss Sophia because not only is she a brilliant astrologer, but she's a Taurus moon. So I really wanted to get in Taurus season.
Taurus moon, Taurus Jupiter, Taurus Saturn.
Okay, keep it real. Let them know, right? She's here to rep for the Taurus energy. Okay, I'm Taurus Saturn too, so we have that in common, and we may even touch on that today. But that's what I really love. To really during the season get that introspection and understanding. So Sophia is going to be really able to shine a light for us today, for the audience, and really, chop it up and get into that energy of the Taurus moon. So the alignment, we're going to get to the chart pretty quickly, but first snapshot, what do you think about when you think of springtime and Taurus season for this Taurus super new moon, which means it's closer to the Earth at 18 degrees, which, just so you guys know, the lunar mansion behind that is the moon. The moon is actually exalted from 10 to 23 degrees. That's why the Taurus moon is so wonderful. So what are your first thoughts in terms of thinking of this energy, right? We're conjunct Jupiter, Uranus, Sun, Moon, and still in a conjunction to Venus at home in Taurus.
I could honestly see a lot of random pregnancies, like just really, like, just very like extremely fertile time where you should use extra protection, and obviously like everything is just feeling super good, and maybe even a little too good, where you have to guard yourself, guard your body, and be a little bit more conscious that because it is spring, because it is Taurus season, genuinely everything is blooming right now. And I think a lot of us are coming out. We have spring fever, we want to socialize, and that can be, that can lead to certain things being born or created. It kind of depends on what you want to do with that energy.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting perspective because when you have Jupiter, and just so you guys know, and this is one of the reasons why I know Sophia is saying this, but when you have Jupiter in play, it can bring, and then Uranus, literally unexpected pregnancies. And it also could be like a unexpected marriage proposal because Jupiter in a female's chart or a same-sex couple chart could be the husband. But one thing that is fascinating when you say that, and we spoke about this, like, Venus being at home, in Taurus, and Mars being back home in Aries after all this Libra lunar eclipse, Mercury retrograde, Aries total solar eclipse, the Jupiter Uranus conjunction. April was exhausting. And I think for all of us in the energy in the collective, we all just kind of want to be like, can I just breathe? Can I smell the roses? Can I feel good, right? The Taurus senses, and can I taste some good food and just luxury time, right? Just, are you feeling that need for the grounding and stillness?
Oh, 1000%. I think this is a great time to take that deep breath in, exactly like what you're saying, because April was for everyone extremely hard month, especially with all these Taurus placements. A lot's going on with our economy. The Pluto retrograde is happening until October, leading up to the American election. So there's a lot of collective energies and a lot of us just wanting to take that breath. And I personally feel like, considering all my circumstances, I was crazy on the move earlier this year personally. I don't know what was going on with you, or you who was watching, but personally, I've just been so on the move and so much has happened. My life shaken upside down in so many crazy ways that this month particularly has been exactly that. I feel in my body right now. I feel like I can actually ground, and it's like it is that inhale. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one thing that I'm interested in, and we'll see shortly going to the chart, that this energy is this Taurus stellium. And I love stelliums. It's like integrating all this mosh posh of energies with these planets that really affect us strongly here on Earth, more than most people would be willing to admit or even are aware of, is the trine to Ceres, goddess of harvest, and Capricorn. And I was just telling my audience recently in my newsletter that I am going to start my series by through the signs and then the houses. And Ceres goddess of harvest, it is how you nurture and care for things and how you want to be nurtured and cared for. It's very much connected to harvesting and food and nature and things like that. But it's also where we could see low self-esteem and sometimes things like that. And it makes me think with this trine energy, Sophia, that we really are called to tap back into the jungle, to nature, to kind of grounding and connecting in this earth energy and getting that sacred wisdom from Gaia. With this
Mm,
Taurus super new moon, I really feel like this is where we can get those sudden ideas, sudden, downloads when we're hiking, when we're in the harvest, when we're in the garden, when we're planting or playing in the soil or just hugging a tree, right? I'm not too proud to say as a, MC from New York City that I never thought I would admit this, but yeah, I hug trees. I'm a real
I
cat.
love hugging trees.
Do you? Isn't it?
I love hugging trees. Yeah.
Tell people, well, share that insight, because I talk about it often, but I find that it does. I ask the tree for wisdom. I say thank you. I get gratitude, but I
Yes.
really, you do get the Schumann resonance. Like, so even if you don't have your feet like in the soil and ground, even by hugging the tree, you can still get it. So tell people and share like your
Yeah.
experience, what you feel.
So, as somebody that also uses meditation as a practice, I think it can be hard to use your mind to connect with nature. I think that's why Taurus Mercury people teach us so much, because it really is like you almost have to learn how to let your mind be receptive and no longer wanting to output information or try to decipher information. It's being receptive to the esoteric or metaphysical information that's imprinted into these beings, these, I don't like to use the word entities because that can get a little spooky for some people, but these beings that are just organisms of the earth, right? Plants, animals, even the wind as an element. And they all have this, because all of this energy right now can really lead somebody towards studying or being into shamanism. And
Yeah.
yes, and it leads, and shamanism sees the relationship of the self with all elements and organisms and beings of nature in this primordial world. It's all an extension of the spirit. And so it takes me back to a memory, and I guess this could be kind of an example of when you do take that time to be in tune and let your mind be receptive to the information that's being brought into you, whether it's through whatever your, claircognizant, clairaudient, whatever comes in through you and your channel when you're open and meditating or praying or just breathing into that space or into that tree or into that land and setting that intention to do that is I remember I went deep into meditation. I think I was in North Carolina, living in North Carolina at the time, and I've been just traveling in a trailer. So I would take very long walks through the woods with my dog every day. And I stopped on a little bench and I just became so enchanted by this land and the way that the rocks were and the redness of the soil. And I went so deep that I had a near psychedelic experience because I started to see the geometrical patterns in which nature organizes itself through the grass and the rocks, and all of
Oh,
the patterns of reality shaped itself to me visually without any substances, mind you, without
yeah.
anything altering me, just truly breath. I don't think I even ate that day yet. And being present. And that's how nature is. When you are receptive, it will open itself up to you and share secrets of wisdom and beauty that you can only see when you, again, are receptive and open and honoring that primordial wisdom, that divine goddess wisdom that's in Mother Earth, Mama Gaia.
Wow. That you created such an amazing visual, and it's like I felt every word of that, and I understand it because it's almost like sometimes you could see the life of the trees and the existence of everything living in nature. And I think sometimes people can get fearful of it, right? The like mysteries of the unknown, of the forest or the jungle and this and that. And but yet when you kind of allow yourself, like key word that you said, right? And Taurus fixed earth, but a feminine energy, feminine moon or sun, it's receiving the messages and the downloads and the insight from all the living organisms. And when you literally said that, it made me think about like mushrooms and, just the intelligence of mushrooms and just all of it. And that's so perfect. And, I think at this time, this alignment, let's be honest, Uranus and Taurus, will wrap up around 2025 and does a little dance in retrograde, but like, officially, I think it will get into Gemini permanently in early 2026. But, it's been, Uranus does 84 years, the whole cycle, 7 years, but Uranus and Taurus, sort of like this hashtag New Earth, but it does bring the extreme chaos and weather and the things to our values, our survival, our resources, our food, our speech, our self-worth, our money, right? Our material items. And it's going to be for your highest and greatest good. But this transit, it's been tough for a lot of, let's be honest, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius risings. But even someone like yourself being a Libra ascendant, experiencing it in eighth house, hitting the natal moon. And then, in this chart, we're going to get to it's in the sixth house for Sagittarius rising, which is America's chart. So it's actually apropos to look at it like that. We can see that people's daily routines and their work life, whether it's literally working at home over the internet, Uranus, Taurus, right, making money through the internet, or just things being disrupted, that has kind of become in really in a lot of deep, profound ways that can be painful or optimistic views. It has been really transformative, sometimes hurtful, but it's like, how do we adjust to that in our like health and sickness? So I wanted to ask you, I'm going to get ready to bring up the chart, but I want you to kind of share and talk about it. What do you think that we should be focused on health-wise to bring into our lives or daily routine when we are looking at this Taurus super new moon, because there's a lot of beneficial energy that the audience can learn to bring into our lives. And let me bring up the chart as
When it comes to health, I think we can go quickly to the end of Taurus that is not so healthy, which is the overindulgence, right? Where sometimes we'll choose a 30-second flavor burst of sugar or whatever over, a day of feeling healthy, because sometimes that lethargy from too much bread, too much candy, and we think it might be worth it for an hour binge, or like just because it just tastes so good, but it generally has those long-term effects that Taurus, because it's about sustaining and maintaining, will feel, and you do feel in your body. So I think it is kind of like, if you can do anything to be more healthy, it is to be just more aware of when you are going to certain pleasures or certain foods to cope. Because overall, collectively, of course, Pluto runs to retrograde, so there is like a collective pain, a collective shadow wanting to be revised and revisited, and of course that can feel physically painful. And I think a lot of things with the Taurus moon, it can really bring you into your body, but sometimes because our pain bodies are a layer of who we are, connected to our emotional bodies, it can feel a little overwhelming. It can feel like a little bit too much. And part of to hop over that, becoming aware of when we're overindulging or when we're coping with food or indulgences, is to also maybe lean towards some somatic therapies, which, if you read anything, I don't know if you read, Eric, The Body Keeps the Score, but that's like a whole
mm,
account. Yeah, there's a whole like a psychological account of how the body, as the title says, keeps score of every single event and every single trauma and thing that happens on a cellular level that eventually has to be processed in some way. And that's why somatic therapy can be truly just through a facilitator or through dance, through yoga. It's letting your body process it, outside of, traditional talk therapies. And of course, I'm not a professional, and if you need a professional, go seek professional help. But this is only a suggestion, a kind suggestion, and concerning the astrological energies.
I love that. So we have the chart up, and I think one thing that you said about that, and it's really interesting because Taurus and the moon, right? We're dealing with the physical body, and the moon being exalted in Taurus, being the first earth sign, it totally logically to me makes so much sense, right? And when you think about our work, our service, our daily routine, our sickness, illness, and you're dealing with the sixth house, we have to find out kind of how are we valuing ourselves? Are we working too hard or too much? Are we taking time to put in or implement a daily routine of positive talk or affirmations? So often, I know at work we can get lost in, people who have the 9 to 5 grind hustle and, appeasing bosses and supervisors and this and that, and even getting down on yourself if you're not meeting goals. And we've got to really try to illuminate and take advantage of this Jupiter and Venus, the two benefics being here. And I think about Taurus season in the month of May, where we're really putting in the positive self-talk and honoring what our bodies need, right? If
Mm.
we're needing to eat less, if we're needing to drink more water, if we're needing to, take a lunch break where we're actually just walking and not, having a big greasy sandwich for lunch or whatever it is, right? There's no judgment here, but I think I like how you were, speaking about that, because when you're dealing with Taurus in the sixth house, and I see this with, numerous amounts of clients. Number one, let's keep it real. I know wherever Taurus is, especially in the third, sixth, or 10th, you like to drive kind of fast if you're driving to work, right? With the Sagittarius ascendant. So slow down, especially after May 25th, because Jupiter will leave and then Uranus is there alone, and Venus leaves on May 23rd. So you don't have the benefics there. So we don't want any sudden car accidents or, different things, and don't overlift the weights at the gym. And, all of a sudden some weights are falling on you, hurting your foot or your head or your throat, but you have to be, just mindful. But looking at this chart, and I do want to zoom in for a quick second. I like the fact that, and I don't know if people are aware of this, and I know that you are, but the sixth house, third, sixth, 10th, and 11th grow better over time. And it's sort of like kind of like a malefic house. And the sun, it can burn things that it's close to, right? It's a mild malefic. And Venus and Jupiter, the benefics, don't do so great in the sixth house. But when you've got the sun there, it makes me think, well, at this super new moon, it's illuminating those aspects of our bosses, coworkers, our health, our work, our service to humanity, our daily routine, and even our pets, right? Sophia, you mentioned about, walking your dog in nature, and that's like so wonderful for you and the dog, so like therapeutic. But it's one of these things where I think sometimes we forget. I remember I told my wife, my son has a bearded dragon, Goldie, and she's so wonderful, right? And I told her, she seems like she's getting older, and she wasn't eating the worms, and my wife was concerned about her eyesight. And God source energy just told me, and I felt it in my body, right? The kind of the Lilith at the time was still in Virgo, it's in Libra now, but it was like, she needs the solar sun. Take her outside. She's just living in a house. She's an animal. And don't you know, my wife started taking her out, every day or every other day. But after the first day or two, not only did she not want to come back in, now she's like all over the place. She does, we feel like it's cruel. We don't keep her in her cage. We let her roam around and stuff like that. And she's like a family member, and that's what I think about with this, what you said with the dog and nature, but with this Taurus moon for the health, the super new moon, don't just think about yourself. This is small pets, right? Think about the animals needing healthy food and nature and the sun, right? That solar energy, it can really bring vitality back to us and even our small pets,
Yes,
So,
I 100% agree with that.
so tell me, what do you think about this chart, whether it's this happening at this time with Pluto going retrograde, South Node and North Node still doing their dance, and these energies kind of, sextiling Saturn and Pisces.
hmm Well, I think it is slightly, and I mean, I say this lightly because there is still a lot of Aries going on. The Mercury is finishing off its Aries cycle, and we do have like the North Node there, and a couple other things. But I do think overall it is a very you can be passive during this time if
Mm,
that is particularly beneficial to your chart, and receive a lot more from not being reactive, but more being responsive, like kind of letting things happen,
okay.
and then,
Like feeling the energy and the situations and the experience.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Because of course Mars is in Aries, so like, okay, it's a great time to take action. Like you can do it if you want to do it, but if you're leaning towards the water and the earth in your chart, and you're wanting to work with that, then I think do so again by letting your environment around you signify to you how you will then respond, rather than obviously that Mars and Aries in there, which is more like, I'm gonna make my environment, I'm gonna do things the way that I want to do it, like I
Right,
am the
right.
leader of how things go. And of course, like, that can be a little bit sound a little bit contradictive, but of course, like, this is all just fragments of the whole picture. And you can, if you're working with Mars right now, if you're working with that planet, then work with that planet. But because of all the Taurus, I'm looking at the Venus, I'm looking at the Moon, I'm looking at the Jupiter, I'm looking at the Sun, And with that, it has like a very light but nice sextile to the Pisces. And I think part of that is being kinder, softer, receptive, responsive, and more absorbent, and you know, patient with
Yeah.
circumstances, people, things.
Well, I love that you said that. And one thing that I think about with this sun and moon, sextiling Saturn, I still, so unfortunately, I feel like a broken record, but I just hope people understand the importance of honoring Saturn, because Saturn, it's that karmic teacher, right? It will kick your butt if you do not respond to your abilities, implement the discipline, structures, organization in your life, throw in the hard work. And when Saturn being in Pisces at this super new moon and in the sextile to the sun and moon, it makes me think about what you said, the kind of being receptive, which obviously earth and water signs are more introspective and receptive as feminine energies. But Saturn in Pisces, right, it wants those healthy boundaries, no energy vampires. It wants compassion, empathy, grace, and mercy for ourselves and for others. So even that coworker, right, even that boss, we don't know at home, are they going through a divorce with their spouse, or they having issues with their parents or family, or you know what I mean? We kind of sometimes we have to pause and have that moment of like introspection or stillness, even though like with Mars and Aries right now and Mercury, where we could be very blunt and direct, right? We've got to find a way with this sextile, I think at this super new moon, to really, especially because it's right, early in the work week, or I guess in the 7th is the middle of the week, but like really find a way to be open to considering that other people may not be at their best, but it doesn't mean we need to judge them, criticize them, or write them.
Yeah, and even others have their own primal desires. Like, because Taurus is so primal and we still have this Aries, like, yes, some people, and it's not shaming yourself or others for having primal desires. I think it's about being more honest about it. Like, yes, some people are only in a certain project or in a certain space for money. It's
Yeah,
true. Some
yeah.
people only want to conversate with you because maybe, yes, they only want sex or affection, physical affection. And I think it's being honest with yourself too about you and your primal desires and what you are requiring or needing or wanting, and being compassionate with those parts of you as well. Because I know, because of, the dogmatism of the Saturn Pisces, there's a lot of, and then the Pluto going retrograde, I think there is like this kind of level of like religious trauma, or like yeah, like a level of like religious trauma or dogmatic religious or even spiritual belief that can really tear somebody down and not know what is right for me, what is wrong for me, what is the right path, am I doing the right thing, and it can become a very like spiritual concern. Whereas, you can ground a little and realize you have control. You're not an out of control animal, and but also you don't have to be, unless this is part of your path at this point and you want to be ascetic, or anything like that. But it is a beautiful thing to engage with the physical world, but to also be honest when your primal desires are overriding your logic or your love or your compassion.
No, that's so true. And I think a couple of thoughts on that. What you said is interesting with like Pluto going retrograde and Saturn and Pisces. You're seeing a lot online. I'm seeing where astrology and religion, it's like both sides, right? Like there's a lot of attacking. There's like spiritual cults and people misleading people, which I think is so unfortunate. But you're seeing a dissolving of organized religion, but then even like a questioning or dissolving of like what's the path to go, right? And with Pluto Aquarius, the artificial intelligence, the AI, and the technology, there's things being revealed and even deceptions. I just think of this because it's just like been coming up. Well, with Drake and Kendrick Lamar in their kind of, hip hop battle, and Drake sampling and using through AI the voice of Tupac, right? And not getting permission from the family. And then this becomes a bigger question for, right, Taurus season, Taurus Uranus, Pluto Aquarius. What's fair game, right? That's why the Screen Actors Guild, we were on strike. I'm still a card carrying member of the Actors Union, which I'm proud of, and I worked damn hard to earn it. So I'm going to keep it, whether I'm acting currently or not. But you know what I mean? It's what's fair to use someone's likeness and their image, their voice, right? Taurus, and being able to legally do that, but people getting paid properly and stuff. So I think those are questions that are coming up. And then also, I like this Virgo Juno, which, I don't remember, and I don't know if you know this, the orbit of Juno, it's how long it stays in the sign. But Juno, you guys, has been in Virgo forever, ever. But it's trining this Venus in Taurus. So I think you hit on that, the money, but also the sensuality, right? People don't realize it. I think sometimes people forget that earth signs are about bringing things into physical reality, and they're so connected to their physical bodies. And I think it makes Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn very sensual and at times very sexual. They may not always be considered or thought of it, right? People are like, oh my God, Scorpio and Leo and Gemini. But the earth signs, because of the connection to the physical earth and our senses and our physical body, they are very, and I think you hit it, like more primal sexual beings. So I like that Juno trining, Juno and Virgo trining the Venus in Taurus. What do you think about that? And do you have thoughts about what's fair game with the technology and how it's brought into our physical reality? Because that's going to become a big deal, especially as this Pluto September 1st on its retrograde journey to October 11th. When it gets back into Capricorn September 1st, I wonder, like, maybe will there be a change of some of the laws for the AI? And I don't know. I heard just today. This is interesting. I want to share this with you. I just heard today. So Google is under investigation and may need to give up some of their rights for the search engine. They may be accused of having too much of a control or a monopoly, and so that other search engines have an opportunity, and not just Google, to be our main search engine. I don't think people really use.
I believe that, because just to hop off of that idea, there's I don't know if you know Aaron Abke, but he is was a trained minister, became a minister of universalism and kind of rewriting the story of Jesus and all of these things. And he came out and said that he used to work deep in Google and kind of talks about publicly only so much. And I think he does not secret, but confidential calls with people to kind of reveal the back ends of Google and how they do intentionally hide things from even the people that are working within the infrastructure behind the scenes. Even information has to be hidden from certain sectors of certain people. And so I think you really hit it on the nose. Like, it will be interesting to see, because the laws will change, and it'll be interesting to see how much more involved the collective gets into it, because essentially that's what's going to teeter how the laws are written, and if they benefit the collective, the sovereignty of people, or if they're going to benefit even more the hidden forces, I would say, that are kind of controlling, not controlling, but have more of power, domination, money, right? Pluto, over
Yeah.
these kinds of things. So I think it's
No,
just, staying in tune with that information.
that's so deep. And I want to ask you about some manifesting tips that you would want to share with the audience for this super new moon. But real quick, I think it's interesting because I remember being in college at the University of Maryland back in the 90s, and we protested, and we would protest different things, but we protested the Rodney King results on my campus. And I bring that up because it's all in the news today in the last week or two, and I think it's going to we're going to see something, unfortunately or fortunately, come to a head this super new moon, about our daily routines at the universities. As college is about to wrap up, they're going to be ending their semesters in the next week or two, most colleges. And I think these protests will go on until they go home for summer break, right? Some kids go back, during the summer classes in college, but majority of kids, they're done, right? They're done with. But we've had so many arrests, right? And I like to stay out of the controversy. I'm always anti-war, and what's been going on with Palestine and Israel. It's really sad and unfortunate because too many innocent lives are lost, right? But just in terms of the astrology of it, I think that this is the throat chakra, Taurus, right? Your values, your self-worth. I'm kind of appalled by in New York, but it's everywhere, California, the protests are everywhere, where they are actually trying to arrest and, have, arrested and broken up the kids with their constitutional First Amendment rights. And I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of change or shift or ruling, or do you think that this, because the clock is ticking, right? It's the end of Taurus season and the end of the college semester. So it's really fascinating how this is not the end, but like going into the next week or so of May, as we get to the 19th and all the kids are done by the 19th. What do you think could come to a head? And do you think this is going to make their voices louder by people trying to shut down the throat chakra and their First Amendment rights?
Yeah, I think, well, one of the universal laws of this universe is for every energy or action, there is an
Yeah,
opposite and equal force, right?
yeah.
So I think as much as certain oppressors or suppressors of whatever movement is going on, hope that the suppression will keep it down, for some it will. But overall, it's kind of like a boiling pot. The more that, and that's kind of like the reference to the bull, right? It's for
Yeah.
like you could even reference it, right? Because this is a very macrocosm concept. We're going into like collective, like sharing your voice, but it being suppressed, and the like the tea kettle wanting to boil over, and that's essentially how the bull is. That's how Taurus is that's my moon. A lot of people don't see. I'm very calm, very still, but it's like once the bull has had enough, it's
Oh,
like wave the red flag because it's full go. So I think a lot of people are just kind of waiting, and when the kettle gets hot, it is going to overflow, and it's kind of like you said, a tragedy. It's very tragic that innocence has to be lost and hurt. But at the same time, because of the collective energy and the current consciousness, there's got to be a certain amount of people that are, wanting and wishing and behind these movements for sovereignty and free voice, that then there can be actual laws and placements, because Saturn is still valid, that can support a safe container but also a sovereign container for the average person. Because it's at the end of the day, the internet like they're like Americans are already like losing a lot of that access to free information. That is why Google is in this case, because we're realizing we don't know as much as we used to be able to know.
oh, and
Search
even this
engines,
big ban on TikTok, right? They're putting
yeah.
it in with aid to Israel and Ukraine. And the reality is, they're not concerned about the American citizens. They want to ban
Mm-mm.
TikTok because TikTok has been the voice of the downtrodden and really speaking to truth all over the globe, seeing the loss of innocent lives, seeing truth that you're not getting on the propaganda news.
I think it's, especially you're an Earth moon, I have an Earth moon, and I think with these current transits, it's almost in the Saturn Pisces. It is healthy if you are in a position that's not fight or flight right now, to actually feel those feelings and grieve a little bit and take that time as an honorable grievance, maybe even some tears will shed when you really do contemplate and sink into your body the reality of what's going on right now, you
Yeah.
know? But
Oh yeah, and with Saturn and Pisces, Saturn
yeah.
and Neptune, both of them in Pisces, yeah, you can feel like tremendous. And for some, let's be honest, for some people, it's a lot of fear. And I just want to encourage them, yes, let those tears out, but choose the faith over fear, and let's not fear based on the lies or propaganda that's been told to us. Let's try to find the humanity in all people, and then maybe we can see things through the lens of the compassion and empathy and like that agape Christ-like love that you can find in the Pisces energy. You know what I mean? It's these are wild times. So why don't you share with the audience, maybe three amazing manifesting tips for this Taurus super new moon? Because I know, I'm definitely going to be attached. Taurus is definitely ruling the crystals and the gems. So I'm going to be attached
Yeah.
to my crystals.
I know,
But
I have mine right here.
so
They're
share
all
with
like surrounding me.
no, it's so
I'm
listen,
putting
they're
this one
really
on my
helpful.
womb for cramps. This one specifically helps with cramps, and it's funny because
Oh, really? What? Well, share to the audience. Which one does that? What's the name of it that helps?
this is, I believe, it's a rhodochrosite. I'm probably butchering it a little bit, but
Okay.
this one actually followed me because
Hmm.
I was never directly given to it. It was never given to me. I was in a car with friends, and I remember handing it back. Everyone has the same memory, group memory of me handing it back. But when I look in my backpack a week later when I flew back, it followed me. And
I love
yeah, and I think that's like a very special thing is, you can work with crystals as like little like just frequencies of what Earth creates because this is just natural. It doesn't mean they are, possessed or anything like crazy. It's
No,
just
I
from
know.
Earth.
There's a big movement
Yes.
online where
There's a
you
big movement. So
religious people, and I hate to say that because I'm not anti-religion. I am a Christian. Let me say, I I am not anti-religion. I'm a Christian myself, but understand that these same crystals are also in our smartphones and our computers and technology, people. So it can't be good for one thing and then not good for another. God has
yeah.
control over all the planets, the crystals, the trees, the universe. So let's try to stop.
Yeah,
You
let's
know,
try to stop.
yeah, it's too
Calm
much.
down. I know. And like obviously do what's right for you. But yeah, crystals are a beautiful thing just to activate the crystal. One of my teachers, says just like hold the crystal, activate crystal healing is kind of what I say, and you can deeply just feel into it, meditate into it, and even just set it on your altar or under. I like to sometimes connect with a certain energy and put it under my pillow, and my dreams will
Mm,
change. Um, I also like the idea of collecting flowers and
okay.
or planting flowers right now or things like that.
Now, would you do that on the 7th of the moon, or would you do it like
Yes.
a day before or a day after?
I would do it on the 7th if you can. And I
Okay.
don't think it's a bad thing to do it a day before or a day after, but if you can do it on that day, either collect flowers, give plant flowers,
Mm,
something like giving beauty. I think that will enhance the beauty in your life. And that's part of Taurus is creating more beauty around you for yourself and others. And if you can also be generous, I think that's an interesting thing because the shadow aspect of Taurus can be greed, holding on too much. So if you want to heal that blockage and manifest better, um, be generous intentionally and unconditionally. Sometimes I will just send because I do have my Taurus, Saturn, and Moon together. So this is something I do for to clear karma as well.
okay.
Is I will just randomly send money to my friends. It doesn't have to be every week or every month, but if I have the extra, it's like here's $10. Get yourself a coffee today, or
That's
here's
all. Yeah.
here's 20. Like take yourself out to lunch, like it, or just taking those little moments to see like I have enough to give to others, and me enhancing another person's abundance actually enhances my own. Obviously, never put yourself in a bind,
Love that.
but
I
Yeah.
used to be very, I used to look out for my buddies, and I had a rule, like, when I was single, everybody would come to my little studio apartment in New York City, and I made sure, like, back in the days, like we're watching the Knicks game or football or chilling, and we may have like a blunt or whatever. But I made sure everybody, we all had a slice of pizza and a Snapple. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't. I just would look out for people, and it's a very um, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn moon thing. That's really, I love that. So let me ask you this though too. Would you, in terms of setting new intentions and manifesting, usually people always talk about journaling, but we are talking about Taurus. So I think it's important to be in nature and ground and move the physical body a bit. But also, I think about the positive affirmations, the throat chakra, and really being open to donating some of your, like you said, the money and sharing with friends, but even your resources, right? Like, I want to give some of my old shoes and sneakers that I can't wear, right, to a men's organization, or to, children, things like that, because I think that we also have to understand earth signs. We can kind of get to a place where we're collecting too many resources, right? Taurus and Virgo can both be very nostalgic, and they can just, oh, I need this and I got to hold on to that. Well, you're blocking the energy when you are willing to release it and share it, and or let it go. And sometimes, if you can't give it, sometimes you just got to throw stuff out, because that clears space for the new opportunities, the new energy to come in. And with Venus being in Taurus, make sure you're also keeping your car clean. That helps with the relationships. That's a really good energy and thing for people to do. Get your car wash on the 7th, donate something, just trying to be helpful for you guys, and hope you have a great super new moon experience. Before we transition to your Taurus moon, any last thoughts or tips for, the audience in terms of integrating this energy and experiencing this Taurus super new moon?
I think one more thing, and I think it's always have like a little chocolate with you because
Say it,
um,
girl. Say
well, I just got my chocolate, and
it.
I think everyone needs a little bit more just like rich, really quality chocolate in their lives, and really just enjoy, and don't just stuff your mouth, like have the quality, have the moment, maybe after you worked or you planted that flower or whatever you did, because it's Taurus, then give yourself that reward of something quality and rich and so tasty, and like that's the cycle of life happening, right? Is like you
Love
put
it.
your efforts in and it makes something more beautiful and you can enjoy even more.
Wow. That's the perfect way to sort of end and put a bow on this Taurus super new moon on May 7th, 8:22 p.m. Eastern, 18 degrees, 2 minutes, all that good stuff. So, Sophia is the Libra rising, the Libra sun, the Taurus moon, Saturn, Jupiter as well. And the Taurus moon, right? It's kind of opposing the true black moon Lilith in Scorpio. So, um, thank you for, sharing your being willing to share some of your insights. But it's Taurus season, and I do like to kind of illuminate and give some introspection to the audience in terms of the exaltation of the Taurus moon. Do you mind sharing your degree of your Taurus moon?
So my Taurus moon in my natal chart is specifically at 16 degrees in an exact conjunction with my Saturn.
Right. And so, that can speak to a lot of, and it's in the eighth house, so can it speak to a lot of karmic experiences and energy, past lives, this life with your mother? But just share with us what, how, how do you think the best way to relate to a Taurus moon, and then maybe share some insights on the opposition to Lilith and the conjunction to Saturn.
And that's such a funny thing because I know when I started dating my current boyfriend, he would be confused about when I'm in a mood, and he would get so confused, he'd overthink it, he would like start like, I don't understand you, da, da," and I just told him it's really simple. either feed me or I need to go to sleep. Like it's very simple. I think Taurus Moon is very simple in that way. It's like eat, sleep, and then pleasures, relaxing. And if anything, also Taurus Moon wants somebody or relationships that they can lean on and they can feel invested in, and that person is invested in them as well in a very like material sense, and it's a really beautiful
Like you're
thing.
building something, right?
Yeah, like you're building something honest, something of integrity, something that, lasts a long time and feels comfortable,
Mm,
because comfort, I know, is not available to everyone during these times because of how everything is so wild with the economy right now. But I think we can find comfort in community and being honest with each other and being there for each other in the ways that we can. So that was how I would say you can relate to a Taurus moon, is just seeing the primal human in yourself and them,
they
because
like
it's
their
really
music too.
simple.
They gotta have
Yes.
their music.
Yes, have to have your music. Yes, 100%.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So when share what you're willing to share with the moon conjunct Saturn energy, because I know it can be heavy, right?
Yeah, it's extremely heavy. Saturn does not ever come to play, and something that I've learned with Moon and Saturn specifically is that part of the undoing of the karma, because Saturn is a karma lord, is letting, when I feel that deep pain, because I will feel this really deep, deep pain that wants, and it can be triggered by many different things, but I'll feel this extremely deep pain that almost feels like just like something in me is dying. And it just makes me, with with all of my placements, the Scorpio Lilith, everything, it makes me feel sometimes self-destructive.
Mm,
And I've learned with the Saturn moon, it's like, okay, this is actually the karma purging. Like, the more that I can sit with this, the more that I can allow this to move, the karma's purging from my body. It's purging from my body because Saturn is so physical. So I
right.
think I've been really allowing it just to be like, okay, this is a really heavy emotion, but this is me purging. I don't have to run for my phone. I don't have to run out of the house. Sometimes I just want to run out of the house and I don't even go. I don't even know where I'm gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Well,
like.
you
Mhm.
know what's fascinating about that is really deep, because I also share that one placement, having Taurus and Saturn.
Mhm.
And I think it's also learning to be disciplined and organized, um, with your values, your self worth, your possessions, and even your material items, your money. You know what I mean? Like being, Tauruses can be stubborn, but they can be very practical and prudent. I think Taurus is a little bit more generous than people are aware of. I mean, it is Venus, but people don't, always equate generosity with, that Taurus energy, but it actually is. And you prove that with what you do with the Taurus moon. But I noticed with the Taurus Saturn, mine's in the seventh house. So it's, really in the lens of relationships, but also the marketplace. And I think it's really also, people really underestimate the five senses with Taurus. And I think Saturn, there is this, responsibility and discipline to honor your senses, and to like build up that the truth, the throat chakra, and how important it is. And I think Saturn rewards us and will say, good job, Sophia, good job, Eric, when we are willing to walk and speak in our truth, value ourselves and others and relationships. And obviously yours is in the eighth house, so it's still dealing with relationships and partnerships and intimacy, soul merging, right? But even with the resources, like really being able to, in a very practical way, make sure you are, in gratitude and valuing, the smallest possessions. You know what I mean? And I, I,
It's
um,
true.
coming to really understand.
Because Saturn will strip you.
Oh, take
Saturn
it
will
all away.
strip you.
Take it all away.
Yeah, it takes it. It will take it if you're working with Saturn. Yeah. So, or you're going through your return, or or your second return, because a lot of people forget they go through a second return as well.
And if
So
they're
it's
fortunate, a third.
yeah, that's true. So it's so interesting because it's like it's for your benefit, but in the midst of it, it feels like a lot more work than you signed up for. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
I want to ask you about the Scorpio Lilith, though, in aspects of the moon. But one thing I will say that people don't realize about Lilith, we know how it gets demonized by the patriarchal system. It's the divine feminine, female Pluto, dark feminine. But it's very much your pre-verbal, pre-rational energy, your yes, no response, very primal, right? We've said this a lot today. But it's also pheromones and hormones. And it's where you can feel the repressed and the rejected energy, right? For you, it's in the second house. And so I can assume opposing the moon, it can relate to the mom. But on the positive side, it becomes Lilith is like your tribe, right? It becomes those people that just kind of get you, right? And for you, that would be like a Scorpio sun moon rising. And I think that's really deep in terms of like our meeting and connection, because I'm a Scorpio rising. You know what I mean? And it's almost like I could see that Taurus and Saturn and feel that Taurus moon in you. And so how do you feel connecting to the Lilith and Scorpio from the aspect of your Taurus moon?
Um, I think it's just being honest when I'm downward spiraling in an intimate relationship. Which is really hard to admit because it's usually always extremely, because it's the eighth house in Lilith, it's usually something that is past life, that is, somebody I've known or I know, like instantly I meet them and I'm like, I know you. And it is interesting to have to let go after being so intimate,
Yeah.
and a lot of, certain tears being shed, certain traumas being revealed, certain intimate experiences never being replicated, and just being like, okay, this was extremely unique and valuable in itself, but now it's going down from here, so it's time to let go,
Yeah.
which is hard with the Taurus and the eighth, and then the Lilith there, but that's essentially.
Now, do you mind sharing? So, where is your ruler of the Taurus moon? Where's your Venus?
My Venus is in Leo, so it's actually squaring my moon.
Oof, okay.
Hmm.
And does this bring up with that and then the opposition of Lilith, sometimes challenging issues with your mother, but also your body and emotional mind?
Yeah, 100%. I think my mother always had body image issues. I think like a lot of Latina and women have like I'm always on a diet, right? My abuelita, she's always on a diet, dieta, dieta. This is part of my diet. This is part of my diet right now. And that's kind of like how, a lot of women are in that community is you always have to be on a diet. You're always trying a new diet. There's always fads. And of course that's affected me. And I have done a lot of healing around that.
Okay, well, that's good. So, what, I guess to wrap everything up in a bow, what do you find now separate? We're not getting personal in terms of your current relationship, but in general, if you were giving insight and advice to someone else with a Taurus moon, obviously relationships, we look at fifth and seventh and Venus and Jupiter and Juno. But I think what's under analyzed and underestimated is the moon connection, because any two moons can work together. It's just about learning that emotional language, learning the intuition of the moon, the body, the physicalness of it, and the emotional responses. So for you as a Taurus moon, I mean, we know the stereotypical obvious ones, but what do you think you would recommend for a Taurus moon to connect with another moon in a relationship?
That's a really good question. Um, I've had some really good like Capricorn Taurus bonds. But and I've also even seen Taurus and Taurus together, which can be too comfortable. And I think sometimes that's probably the downside of like the Earth and Earth, even though it feels really familiar and the needs are very similar,
Right,
it can get a little too comfortable. And I think that would be my only warning is try not to get too comfortable because then there's no growth.
right.
Yeah, then there's no growth. But other than that, a water moon is always really sweet. Um, I have noticed, fire moons can be challenging. The Leo moon for me doesn't work. The Aquarius moon does not work. Um, and I do though like the opposition with Scorpio. I
Yeah.
do like that because the loyalty is there and even, I don't want to say there's a secretiveness, but there's a level of like we're in almost like some kind of pact right now. Like we're not gonna.
Well, it's like a blood oath, right? It's
This is
Bonnie and
between
Clyde.
us.
Scorpio Moon. It's Bonnie and Clyde, baby. Like, we're gonna rob this bank and we going across the country.
Yes, 100%. So that's kind of broadly what I would say. I think it's like you said, good to be open and see how the combination works and obviously if you can get counseling or therapy or some kind of astrology help in that
Hey,
relationship
or
then do
yes,
so.
synastry compatibility chart is very helpful because there's so many energies and placements. And I always tell this to people because I love my audience and I love my subscribers and people that watch my videos, but sometimes people take things so literally, and they don't understand that it's so complex, just like God made each human being so complex. And so any two sun signs can work, any two moon signs can work because it's a dance of the entire map of your life, the chart. So, you know what I mean? You don't want to just be like, oh, well, I could never, I'm a Taurus moon. I can never work with a Libra moon. Like, well, maybe you can, don't just put yourself in a box. It's really about learning the energies. And like you said, sometimes what's obvious and comfortable, just like if you look at a natal chart and there's all these trines and sextiles and you're like, how come you're not a millionaire? Well, because life was so easy and you're just sitting there watching Netflix and chill all day, you're not taking action and you're not being pushed to grow. So, we need debilitation. We need planets exalted and in their fall. We need squares and oppositions because it's the nuances of life that really help push us and inspire us to activate all the nooks and crannies of our chart and our life, right?
100%.
So, all right, my friend, this has been amazing. Like always, it feel like it's been a long time, but it hasn't been that long. But definitely, you can't be a stranger. We'll have to maybe bring you back for Libra season. We got to
Yeah, it'd be really cool
take
with the
advantage.
eclipses.
Well, I was going to say that looking at that last, obviously, we have the September 17th that dips into the Virgo Pisces as the nodes get ready to shift in early 2025. But yeah, we've got that Libra solar eclipse early October. I believe it's October 2nd. So yeah, let's set that up for the audience and put it on our calendar because I think that for you as a Libra sun and Libra rising, you're an important voice in this astrological dance of the cosmos. So I would love to get your brilliant insight again. And I hope everybody has a great and a wonderful Taurus super new moon. Journal, ground, meditate, breathe, do what feels right. I love what you said about the planting and the flowers and stuff like that, and even gift giving, and get you some chocolate. So, can you share with the audience where can they find you, the social medias? I'll have it down in the description, but go ahead, share, and let me know if you have any special offerings or how can people book readings with you, and let them know all that is Sophia Astrology.
Okay. So you can find me at Sofia Astrology on Instagram or TikTok. or you can find me on YouTube through Tantrika Sofia, where I put a little bit of everything about me and my life. Otherwise, I'm taking personal readings, couple readings, chart activations, and I even do 30-page natal breakdowns. So I have a lot to offer.
Wow.
Yeah, so just you'll find all my links either on my TikTok or my Instagram.
And let's make them know correctly, right? It's Sofia, correct?
Yes, so at Sofia_astrology.
Okay. I don't want them looking for the PH. That's not you.
No, in Spanish, PH does not exist.
I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. Well, thank you again, my friend. This has been a wonderful episode 203. Can't believe, wow, the time goes so fast. Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast, breaking down the Taurus super new moon. Enjoy that on May 7th. And I hope you enjoyed the insight that Sofia shared with us on that Taurus moon, and please, continue to reach out. My Taurus birth chart sale goes to May 19th for Taurus sun moon risings. And you can email me directly to book it at bigeastrology@gmail.com. And always sign up for the newsletter. Visit the website, bigeastrology.com. My friend, this was awesome and a pleasure, like always.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for you who is watching, and I really hope to see episode 204 right next.
Oh, this is 203.
Yeah, so I'm staying tuned in. I want 204
Oh,
already.
you got to see all of them. 204, 205, 206. I love it.
Yes, I'm already on to the next, the Aries Mars.
Oh, listen. It's a good time, and I think that I like that equilibrium and balance, right? Venus being at home in Taurus and Mars being home in Aries. I think it's kind of bringing everyone kind of like home to center for a little bit of time. I think it's needed. All right, you guys, have a good one, and thank you for watching Knowledge is Love. Have a good one.